the start of a new weekly reading vlog. I'm starting a little bit late this week based on some personal things. Very exciting, but personal things. So it is actually Tuesday, and I have actually skipped a week of vlogging. Reason being, again, in my personal life, my phone died just scrolling through Instagram one day and black screen. Took a couple days to get my phone back, and through that sort of fell out of the habit of checking in with you guys. So here we are starting fresh, and having gone through my weekend kind of being like up in the air with what's going on in my real life. And now that that is semi settled, I can get back to reading. So I'll give you a really quick update on what I read last week that I did not vlog, and what is on the horizon. So I read a couple of things last week. I finished Ring Shout by P. Djèlí Clark. This is a phenomenal horror novella about the early half of the 20th century in sort of a speculative reimagining of the Jim Crow South. What Clark does in this novella in a very short number of pages is absolutely remarkable. He's able to provide enough explanation of culturally relevant items and plot relevant items that many white readers, might not be familiar with without hand-holding. And without causing that plot to drag down. I do think that he probably had an opportunity to have slimmed it down just a little bit more if he were not providing some of that explanation within the exposition of the story. But I really appreciated it as someone who is pretty ignorant on the Gullah Geechee traditions that are included in this story and play such a large part in the story. Really remarkable and quite a page turner. You've got to get to that ending scene, that climax, and see what Clark has built. Really very cool. The audiobook that I was working on last week was Apple Skin to the Core by Eric Gansworth. This is narrated by the author and is also a novel in verse, or a memoir in verse rather. So he's done a really neat thing in this creation, in that he includes, sort of in lieu of author notes, he includes what he refers to as liner notes. So the structure of this memoir is based on the structure of Beatles albums, which he grew up listening to at his family home. Gansworth himself is a member of the Onondaga Nation, and his family actually grew up on Tuscarora land. So in so many ways, he felt himself as an outcast. And the way that he structured this memoir to correspond with the albums of the Beatles, there were so many levels, so many layers in this telling of his own story. I mentioned in a previous vlog that he actually went back a couple of generations to discuss the removal of indigenous cultures, of removing individuals from their homelands and placing them in boarding schools to then be adopted by white folks in America. So he goes from that era through to his own experiences, relating them to different thematic elements or what was going on in the Beatles' discography and their interrelationships within the group during the creation of many of their well-known albums, such as the White Album, Abbey Road, Let It Be, and it was just really remarkable. The audiobook was stunning, and I would certainly recommend listening to Eric Gansworth tell his own story through his own verse, especially because it's in verse and you really get his meter, since he's the one that wrote it and he's the one performing it. So That's really an extraordinary experience. But I would also recommend at least having access to a physical copy, because he does include original artwork. And again, because it's in verse, you can see the format, the layout on the page, which in written poetry is also an important facet. Over the weekend, I read a middle grade novel titled The War That Saved My Life. This is by Kimberly Brubaker Bradley. And this was just a beautifully poignant story focused on a 9, maybe a 10, we're not sure at the beginning of the story, 9 or 10-year-old girl who is living in London a year preceding the Blitz. So that was the bombing of London during World War II by the German air forces. And during this time period, there was a movement to remove all of the children from London and put them on a train out to the countryside. So our main character, Ada, is not meant to be a part of this mass exodus to the countryside due to a physical disability that her mother has really blamed on Ada and abuses her because of this really easily adjusted disability that her mother has allowed to fester and develop. So now it would take surgical intervention in the 1940s in order to correct. So because her mother is ashamed of Ada and does not, because Ada's mother is ashamed of her, Ada is not meant to be on the train with her younger brother to the countryside. And yet she finds a way, makes her way onto this train with the help of her brother and with the help of a neighbor who has only seen her through the window of their 3rd-story flat, so that she can be a part of this movement out of London and hopefully to save her life. The woman that takes in Ada and her younger brother Jamie is not anticipating that she'll actually be responsible for children during this time period, and is quite reluctant to take on this responsibility. Because Ada has experienced so much abuse in her life thus far, she has a hard time trusting this caretaker, and the three of them, Ada, Jamie, and Susan, the caretaker, go through such a transformation of learning to trust each other and developing a love for each other. And towards the end of the novel, the Blitz occurs after more than a year of the British government warning that it's not safe for children in London and we have to keep them in the countryside in order to keep them safe. But so many of the parents have taken their children back. So when the Blitz occurs, Susan has made her way to London to make sure that Ada and Jamie are all right and offer them a wonderful opportunity of freedom. But this transformation really, it saves Ada's life, as the title implies. It provides her opportunities that she never would have had. It lightens up Susan's life after she has experienced such great sorrow, and really gives all of our main characters an opportunity for a more fulfilling life. It was absolutely beautiful. This was the first book that made me cry in 2021, so there is more to come. But I would recommend this to just about anybody. Beautifully told story. The other book I finished yesterday after work is one that almost made me cry, but not quite. This is Dear Justice by Nick Stone. So it's the follow-up novel to Dear Martin, which I read, I guess 3 years ago now, looking back at the date. Dear Martin focuses on Justyce, who experiences a harrowing encounter with a racist policeman and reaches out to is sort of in his mind through a teacher's intervention to Martin Luther King Jr. and learns his own inner strength and his own abilities and how to harness those abilities to make good decisions and make opportunities for himself. In the intervening years, Dear Justice was published in September of 2020, so a little ways later. In the intervening years, Nick Stone received many communications from teenagers of color about justice and how his circumstances are the dream, but very rarely are they reality for so many kids in similar situations. So in Dear Justice, we get Quan, who has grown up in the same neighborhood as Justice and has never received the same opportunities. And it's not based on the choices that he's made. It's not based on his intelligence. It's based on circumstances that have led him to being in prison for a crime that he has not committed. He's in prison for over 2 years, waiting for a trial date for a crime that he did not commit. And this is reality for, it doesn't even matter how many people for which this is a reality. This shouldn't happen to any of our kids in this country. So it's really heart-wrenching reading this story. Overall, it does have a message of hope, and it's definitely worth the read. There is a hopeful ending, and I do look forward to catching up on Nick Stone's backlist. She tells a really important story. She tells really true stories, even though they are fictional characters.
Well, apologies for the dramatic lighting, and if you happen to hear the dishwasher running. It is the end of the evening. We watched a few episodes of television, and so I didn't get too much more reading finished. What I did manage to do is complete Macbeth, the graphic adaptation by Gareth Hinds. It was a pleasure to revisit the story, as it is one that really sticks in my mind from my high school required reading for whatever reason. And the graphic style of this interpretation kept a lot of the same text, but the characterization of the story itself and sort of these detailed images, and some of them quite gruesome, really pulled you into the story and helped illustrate what was occurring. As soon as I read a certain scene, I also started singing from Hamilton, which annoyed the crap out of Matthew, but you know, it is what it is. So I am headed toward the end of the evening. I'll probably read a few pages of The Hidden Gallery by Maryrose Wood before I head to bed, and I will let you know next time how it went. See you later.
Well, it has certainly been a Wednesday because I recorded this clip but only took a single picture. So it's Wednesday evening. I did not get very much reading done today as I had training this morning, work, and then rehearsal. I did manage to start Real Life by Brandon Taylor. I am listening to this via audiobook through Libby, and the narration is by Kevin R. Free. So I've not gotten very far into it, and as far as I can see, it's sort of the everyday situations of our main character, but we will see what continues to progress in the plot as we move through the novel, and hopefully I'll be able to get a better grasp of what's supposed to be happening so I can let you know what my thoughts are. As I said, I didn't get much reading done today. I really squandered my morning by watching YouTube videos, as usual. And then I've just had a really kind of non-stop day, and I'm very tired. Unfortunately, I still have homework to do. So that's what the end of my evening will consist of. Tomorrow is a new day, and hopefully I'll be able to get some more quality time in to get some pages read. If I do, then you'll hear about it, and I'll see you then. Well, good morning. It is actually not Thursday. It is Friday morning, and I
neglected to vlog anything yesterday. Yesterday just turned out to be really busy. I had another personal training session in the morning, so I did get to read a little bit more of Real Life by Brandon Taylor. I also looked up a couple of published reviews of this novel to maybe get a better grasp on the author's intention. So as I continue reading and sort of finalize my thoughts as I move through this novel, I will get you a better update, because it's not written for me. I know that for sure. Was not the author's intention to write for the enjoyment of a 30-year-old white lady. I was responsible for some work from home hours yesterday, and I also got a haircut, which I then slept on, so it's not the best, but it's certainly refreshed, so very excited. I got some reading done today. Sat down with The Incorrigible Children of Ashton Place, Book 2, The Hidden Gallery. This includes Penelope, the governess, and her 3 charges making a trip to London. And there are some wicked plots afoot. And I'm about a third of the way through this now, and plan to open that back up once I'm finished updating here, get a little bit more in, and hopefully maybe even finish this up before I have to get ready for work today. So full day today. I actually also have to work tomorrow on Saturday, but that's a much shorter day, and I did get my homework done. As an update from Wednesday, the assignment is due this evening, but I actually submitted it last night, so I feel real good about myself. I don't have to rush home and worry about completing anything. And yeah, I think that I will likely close out this vlog here and let you know my progress in next week's updates. So I hope you all have had a wonderful week. I'm sorry for the lack of updates in the past 2 weeks, and hopefully I'll be on a better schedule for my next vlog. Let me know in the comments what you are currently reading or what you thought about the last book you read. If you are interested in anything that I have picked up or mentioned this week, and I will see you next time. Have a good one. Bye.